We have been looking at damages, which is a common law remedy, and we've seen that damages is handled by the courts in three steps. The courts first try and see, they apply the test of remoteness, in which they see if the loss that you're claiming was even foreseeable, and only if it was foreseeable would you be allowed to have compensation for that loss. Then they would see that if the loss is to be compensated for, how much compensation should they give to you, and there we saw that they will give you compensation which will reflect your expectation. In other words, you will be granted your expectation with certain exceptions. And then we saw related to that was the duty to mitigate, which was step 3, and that's a duty imposed upon the innocent party to keep its losses to a minimum, in other words, to not allow the losses to be aggravated. That was your common law remedy of damages. This lecture will be on equitable remedies. You might recall that equitable remedies were these alternative remedies that developed over a course of time initially by a parallel stream of justice led by a chancellor. And the idea was that wherever common law was felt to be deficient, equity was used to plug those holes. Today we know that we have only one set of courts, and those same courts will allow you common law remedy wherever that would do justice. But if common law remedy would not do justice, the same courts can allow you equitable remedies also. The thing to note about equitable remedies is that unlike common law remedies, equitable remedies are not your right. If you go to a court saying that there was a contract that has been breached and you want justice and you claim some equitable remedy, you may or may not get it. Because remember, equity was all about conscience, it was all about fairness. The king had asked the chancellor to do the best he could in the circumstances. The king had asked the chancellor to do justice, keeping aside all other rules of common law. So it is only where the courts would feel that you deserve an equitable remedy that you will get it. So simply the fact that you were wronged is not sufficient in itself for you to become eligible to equitable remedies. Let us look at some equitable remedies so that this point can be further clearer to you. There are two main equitable remedies that we claim in courts almost on a daily basis. But having looked at those two main remedies, we will consider certain other minor equitable remedies also. The two main equitable remedies are called injunction and specific performance. They are considered as opposites of each other. You might recall the example earlier that I had used where an institution was not providing tuition to the students in breach of contract. And I told you that if the student were to approach a court of law for an order forcing the institution or forcing the teacher to provide tuition, the student would not get that order. Because courts do not like to force people to perform personal services. That amounts to slavery. There are practical issues with implementation, and so therefore courts do not allow personal services to be ordered. But the other example that I had used where I was selling my phone to you, and then in breach of contract I just refused to sell my phone to you. Here, if you went to the court and you asked the court to order me to definitely give the phone to you, the court will pass such an order. Because this is not a case of personal service. The court is not asking me to do any service to you. The court is simply saying that give the phone. You contracted to sell the phone, give the phone. But here also, you need to see the interplay between common law and equity. If my phone was such that there was nothing special about it, it's just a brand new phone, you could easily go to the market and get another phone exactly ditto the same. The court would still say that the court would still expect you to go to the market and get a phone from the market rather than ordering me to give the very same phone that was the subject matter of the contract. The courts don't like ordering. So if if they can somehow or the other see that despite the fact that you've been wrong and I was wrong in not giving the fawn to you, but if they can see that you can easily go to the market and get the same fawn from the market, perhaps maybe at an expensive price, but you can get the same fawn, they would still even today expect you to go to the market and get the fawn from there. But what if the fawn that I had contracted to sell to you was different? What if there was something special about my fawn? Perhaps it was one of a kind. Perhaps it was a special edition that was not readily available in the market, or certainly perhaps not available in Pakistan, for instance. Then you would be saying to the court that, look, I would have loved to go to the market and would have loved to buy a substitute, but there is no substitute in the market. This fawn is unique. It is a special fawn. And therefore, until unless I get this fawn, I would not really get my expectation. If you are able to show that to the judge, that there is no other substitute, the judge will pass an order ordering me to hand over the fawn to you. This remedy is an equitable remedy only available if you can show to the judge that there is no other alternative. This is a unique property and you can either get it from me or just simply not have it. If you are able to show that to the judge will make that order. This remedy is called specific performance. The court will order me to perform specifically what I had agreed to perform in the contract. And what was it? I had agreed to perform, I had agreed to give the fawn to you. That was my performance, that was the performance I had contracted for. The court would pass an order requiring me to perform specifically what I had agreed under the contract, which is to hand over the fawn to you. So remedy number one, equitable remedy number one, is specific performance. This is where the court orders me to do what I am not doing but what I am supposed to do. The only limitation, as we saw on this, is that the court will never order me to give personal services, even if they are unique in nature, even if there is no other substitute. The court will not order me to stand in the class and deliver lecture, no matter how unique that lecture might be, because there some more important considerations are at play, which is fundamental human rights. Courts would never violate that. But as long as you are able to show to the court that it's not a case of personal services, you just want a fawn, the court will make an order of specific performance against me and you will get my fawn. The other remedy, equitable remedy, that you need to be aware of is just the opposite of specific performance, and this remedy is called injunction. It is also called stay order. So if you and I, we have a contract under which I had agreed that I would only teach you and nobody else, at least for the duration of the contract. I would give all of my time to teaching you and nobody else. And let's suppose I breached that contract. And instead of teaching you, I started teaching another person. Of course, you have a right to go to the court. And you have a right to ask the court for certain remedies. Now, what remedies would you want? Chances are you wouldn't really want compensation here, because what you would ideally want is for me to fulfill the contract, which is to teach you, number one, and not to teach this other person, number two. This is what you would ask the court to do. Now, to the extent that you are asking the court to force me to teach you, that's not happening for reasons we have already seen. The court will not force me to teach you. That specific performance will not be granted, because that would amount to slavery, that would amount to violation of my fundamental rights. But the second part of your claim, which would be that I be restrained from teaching that other person, that can be enforced. Court can order me not to teach that other person. This order not to teach, this order not to do something is called injunction. So whereas specific performance is an order passed by the court asking the guilty party to do something, injunction is an order by the court asking the guilty party to not do something. So if I'm doing something which I'm not supposed to do, you will ask the court for an injunction, stay order. If I'm not doing something that I was supposed to do, you will ask the court for specific performance. And both these remedies are equitable remedies. That is to say that even though you may have proved your case to the court, even though you may have proved to the court that there was a breach, you have suffered because of the breach, you may or may not get equitable remedy. And an example of that was teaching. You have proved to the court that I contracted to give tuition to you. You have proved to the court that I breached that duty and I'm not teaching you. Still, you will not get specific performance, because the court now is concerned that forcing me to teach you would amount to violation of human rights. So with this being an equitable remedy, the court will refuse this remedy. So aside from these two main equitable remedies, there are a couple of other equitable remedies as well that you can consider to complete the picture. One of them is rescission, to rescind a contract, to cancel a contract. This happens when one party has gotten the other party to enter into contract through either deception or through force, by threatening that person. Such contracts are called voidable contracts. I won't go into too much detail, but just an introduction that such contracts where consent is not freely given or consent has been obtained through fraud or misrepresentation, such contracts are called voidable contracts. And once the court has been satisfied that the contract was not entered with free will, the court will give the innocent party the choice to get out of the contract. That getting out of the contract is called rescinding the contract, or the noun is rescission, which is a remedy. So the innocent party can go to the court and get rescission. Another equitable remedy that we kind of discussed in one of the earlier lectures is called quantum merit, where you have not performed completely. So for example, you were supposed to construct 10 stories of a building for me, and you have only constructed 2 stories, and the remaining 8 stories were not completed by you, let's say because of some change in law that prohibited high-rise buildings. Even though you have not performed completely, you have constructed 2 floors for me, and it would be very unfair for me not to pay you for those 2 floors. So as long as the incomplete performance was not your fault, the court would allow you compensation for it, whatever performance that you have done. This is under the principle of quantum merit, which is another equitable remedy. There is another equitable remedy called rectification, where some mistake is allowed to be rectified. That mistake could be in the nature of the contract itself or in the performance of it, and in appropriate cases the court can also allow that remedy. But really the remedy that you need, the 2 equitable remedies that you need to know for your exam purposes are specific performance and injunction, plus of course you need to know the common law remedy of damages. With this, we are done with the topic of remedies. There is just one more lecture that you will find uploaded on this page, which will deal with liquidated damages, and that will complete this series of lectures on discharge of contract and the remedy.